Well, there's been a long and dishonourable line of drug cheats over the last 40 years, and as Adam Hollingwood reports, none of the powerhouses of athletics have been blemish-free.
The number of the cases, for me, is not really relevant. What is important is that we see that the system works.
Let's go. Yeah. For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, y'all. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, 100% reason to remember the name. He doesn't need his name up in lights, he just wants to be heard, whether it's the beat of the mic. He feels so unlike everybody else, alone, in spite of the fact that some people still think that they know, but no, he knows the code. It's not about the salary, it's all about...
23-year-old judoka Nicholas Del Popolo was DQ'd from the London Olympics because he failed a drug test. The U.S. Olympic Committee confirmed the unfortunate news, explaining, quote, Nick Del Popolo has failed an in-competition drug test, THC marijuana, and as a result has been disqualified from the Olympic Games by the International Olympic Committee. They also added that the committee is absolutely committed to clean competition and stringent anti-doping penalties.
Till then it was always felt the East Germans were the worst offenders. They were bad and it was systematic. Take female shot putter Heidi Krieger. Her coaches pumped her so full of steroids she had to have a sex change. She's now Andreas. And then there were the Chinese swimmers in the 90s. Breaststroker Yuan Yuan took it out on the media after human growth hormone was found in her kit, but she was one of 40 to fall foul of doping rules.
I never have, I never will.
Remember Marion Jones, the darling of Sydney? She was caught up in the San Francisco Balco drug scandal and admitted taking performance-enhancing drugs, was stripped of her 5 golds and served time for perjury.
Just released after serving a 6-month prison sentence. This is her first interview.
Now, you said that you didn't know that you were taking a performance-enhancing drug. What did you think you were taking?
I thought I was taking a supplements.
What kind of supplements?
I was told that I was being given, what did he say that it was? It's been so long that I've had to discuss it, Oprah. I don't remember what he told me at this moment that he was giving me, but he gave me a number of different supplements.
Yeah, I'd read that you were told it was flaxseed oil.
Flaxseed oil, that's exactly what it was. And
now I take flaxseed oil, and sometimes I grind up the flax seeds.
Or sometimes it comes in a pill form that looks kind of clear. And that's what actually this vial that they pushed across the table, in the vial it looked like this clear liquid.
Okay.
So, I mean, I was in an environment where I was trusting the people around me. Never thought in a million years that anybody would do anything.
But what did you think flaxseed oil would do for you?
Well, I knew that there were a number of supplements, vitamins that I needed to just balance my system out so I can be on an even playing field with everybody else. He told me to put it under my tongue and leave it there for a little while and then swallow.
Did he tell you that this was a secret?
Things are very hush-hush in the world of athletics, particularly when it comes to supplements and vitamins, because nobody wants to give anybody else the edge. There were moments that I felt like I had more energy on the track. that I had that second wind, you know, that some people talk about. And, you know, there were times in training in particular where I felt really good when typically you probably wouldn't feel really good at the end of a workout.
I have betrayed your trust. I want you to know that I have been dishonest. And you have the right to be angry with me.
The same scandal also ensnared Justin Gatlin, who's just won bronze in the 100 metres after serving a 4-year ban. And then there was the American cyclist Tyler Hamilton, banned 8 years after he won in Athens for blood transfusing. It was in Athens, too, that the weirdest Olympic drug story played out. Greek sprinters Kostas Kanteris and Katerina Thanou, the faces of the Games, who faked a motorcycle crash after missing a drugs test. They withdrew in the interest of the country. Adam Hollingworth, Sports Tonight.
The Australian Crime Commission unleashed the biggest doping investigation in our sporting history.
The findings are shocking.
Drugs. What are they doing to our athletes? And are they causing more harm than good? Now, you've all heard of peptides, but what are they? Technically, it's just a generic term to describe a small protein. Now, these proteins occur naturally in food, in our bodies, but they can also be man-made as medical therapies. And it's these peptides that the drug cheats are exploiting to get that winning edge. If your sport is about power and strength, then one of the most commonly abused peptides is human growth hormone. Athletes use it to bolster their weightlifting capacity and to gain muscle strength. But world-renowned hormone expert Professor Ken Ho says that's a big myth.
Giving more growth hormone than what the body needs does not make you stronger or more powerful. We looked at the quality of muscle function, the ability to jump, the ability to pull a dead weight, and the ability to maximize one's endurance.
Excess growth hormone can lead to complications like an enlarged heart muscle, which can be fatal. Aesthetically, muscles look bigger, but it doesn't mean the muscle is stronger.
Even though the muscle is increased, most of that is accounted for by fluid retention. So what you're looking at is muscle tissue having more water rather than having more muscle fiber.
For decades, there hasn't been a reliable test to distinguish between natural and synthetic HGH in the athlete. But the net is closing in. In the last few years, the World Anti-Doping Authority has launched a new sensitive test for HGH. But this has only seen the drug cheats get smarter.
I know of no scientific evidence that they bring performance benefit.
Professor Ho is more concerned about the safety of these peptides. He says theoretically they could accelerate the growth of cancer, an issue recently raised since the death of Cronulla player John Mannah, who was given peptides just 2 years after he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. An alternative to peptides for enhancing power and strength are the anabolic steroids. These are synthetic drugs based on the natural form of testosterone in the body. And unlike human growth hormone, they're proven to work.
Testosterone and dihydrotestosterone are our natural androgens. So these are the hormones that are responsible for developing the male reproductive system as well as muscle growth, bone growth.
In the body, testosterone or other androgens look for receptors on cells. It's only once it engages with the receptor that it can exert its anabolic effects. Excess levels of testosterone carries inherent health risks.
The side effect of having androgens at a high dose for a long period of time can be coronary calcification, psychological disturbances, hormonal imbalances, and lead to some hormonal-based cancers.
EPO, short for erythropoietin. It's the peptide that disgraced Tour de France cyclist Lance Armstrong was accused of taking.
When the body senses a low oxygen carrying capacity, for whatever reason, it squirts out a little bit more EPO from the kidneys, which activates the stem cells to make more red blood cells. So by increasing the body's ability to carry oxygen, which is what the red cells do, that thereby transfers more oxygen to the muscles, which are performing during endurance competition.
Another way of achieving a similar result is to have a blood transfusion. What typically happens is that athletes are bled a few months before the race and their red cells are stored in packs like this one. Then on race day they're reinfused, giving them an instant boost in red cells.
A unit of blood like this, it's concentrated. So if you infuse that, there are risks of the blood sludging. It turns into pea soup, and so it can cause problems with stroke, with heart attack, or clots in the vessels.
Between 1987 and 1990, 18 top European cyclists mysteriously died in their sleep after taking EPO.
Well, of course, this is all done behind closed doors, so there are always going to be increased chances of infection or complications setting in.
Doping by blood transfusion is difficult to detect, but scientists are working on new ways to track reinfused blood.
We are going to continue our policy of unannounced out-of-competition testing. This is something that is the major weapon to trace the cheats. So we are going to do that. We are also going to store the samples for 8 years, like we did in Beijing. And as you know, in Beijing, because a new SIRA EPO test was on the market, we retested, and then we had the 6 positive extra cases that were not found during the games themselves. So this is going to be the strategy: unannounced out-of-competition testing. Targeted testing, that means that we target according to information we get from the grassroots level, very crucial information. If, for instance, we see that an athlete is disappearing out of competition to reappear at a very late period, we try to know why. If at a certain moment we see that an athlete is augmenting his performances in a way that we believe is not very natural, if in the various blood controls we see something suspicious in what we call the longitudinal profile, we again are going to target this or that athlete. So that's definitely what we are going to do.